Hey guys, right. In the first of my interviews with experts, I'm here with Sam today, a long-term mindset coach, clinical hypnotherapist, and founder of Slim Thinking. I had to start with someone of mindset first because honestly, it will make or break what you're doing. If you don't get that bit right, it's all going to go to pot. No matter how much you understand about calorie deficit, how much you know about macros, it doesn't matter. If you don't get the brain working, then you're going to struggle. So I call it, in fact, it's not my phrase, I got it from somebody else. I can't remember where I read it, but I've heard it called the inner and the outer work before. So the outer work is the physical stuff. It's stuff that I teach you guys to do on the daily. It's calorie counting, it's knowing about protein, it's prepping food, finding hacks. That's what obviously I was taught during my training, and that's what I roll out. But unless we get the inner work right, welcome Sam, then it's all going to be that much harder. So firstly, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. It's great to have an expert on board, and I think my clients can benefit hugely. So it's not just me banging on for once about the brain and how it works. You've certainly taught me so much. And I know this is your own business as well. Clients might think, oh, how come you've got somebody on where our skills overlap? But you can't, the message, we can all say the same thing. And sometimes you need to hear things from different people for it to sink in. So we're all on the same team here. And thank you so much for coming on. So yeah, let me kick things off.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first of all, I've got some questions that I think will be really useful. But if you could just tell us a little bit about your business model, what you do and how you work with people, that would be really interesting, just so people can get to know you.
Yeah, okay. So the concept of slim thinking is about changing the relationship that you have with food and drink, with yourself, with your body, and then with what you consume. And the reason for that is because when we understand why we do what we do, what kind of triggers us into certain behaviors, habits, and thought processes, we can then look at reframing that. So whereas diets tend to start at the top level, so here we're just going to change this habit, mindset is like 4 layers deeper than that. So it's like the concept of slim thinking is to get under the lid, get right down those layers, start with the belief system, look at kind of what we believe to be true about ourselves, our food, our self-worth, our habits, relationships, and experience, so that we can then change how we feel. We can manage emotions differently, and therefore we can respond to our emotions and thoughts in a different way that is more supportive of the outcome that we want to achieve. What I found personally as a mindset coach was you could give people all of the skills, all of the techniques and strategies that they need to be able to achieve whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. It might be business, it might be mind, it might be money money issues, it might be relationships, it might be food and weight management. And unless their mindset is on board, and there's two things that I mean when I say on board, which I'll explain in a moment, but unless their mindset is on board, the chances of that being successful were far slimmer than if it was on board. So if your mindset is supportive of your goal, it's going to be easier to work through the strategies. If the mindset says, no, this is not for us for lots of different reasons, then it's going to be much harder. And what you'll find is that you'll need more willpower, you'll need more push, it'll be more of a burnout, and often it will be unsuccessful. So when we shift the mindset to be supportive, and when I say mindset, I'm talking about the subconscious mind, it then allows all of the things that we do to just flow a little bit easier. Well, a lot easier, actually.
Absolutely. If you don't get the brain or mind, you might achieve your goal through sheer brute force, willpower, and grit. But essentially, you're always going to be having to exercise control over what you eat if you don't fix it. So, and that's why so many people lose the weight through the Cambridge, or I'm not shaming that, there's lots of things out there for lots of different people that work. But if you do a quick fix, if you don't do this work, it will always come back. I must say, actually, the reason I know Sam is I've worked with you in the past. So you've been my coach around mindset, and you're absolutely fabulous. Not on nutrition or anything like that. Obviously, we work together on the business side of things because hands up, guys, I know my stuff with nutrition and fitness. Business is not my forte. This lady has had work to do with me. So, you know, she helped me a huge amount. And naturally, her skills are transferable, whether they're on, you know, as you say, her venture slim thinking or business, finances, whatever it is, you know, being a clinical hypnotherapist, these skills are transferable. So obviously that's how I know Sam, but in more recent times, we've realised our skill sets are quite similar. So I
Yeah.
should have said that probably at the beginning. So how do you reframe your brain, you know, for sustainable weight loss? Where do we even start with these things, short of employing you?
Yeah. So this starts with understanding what it feels like to be in conflict for you know, somebody might be thinking now, well, how do I know if my subconscious brain, the subconscious part of my mind is on board with me achieving my goal or not? The best way to identify that is conflict. So look for where you've really tried, but no matter what happens, you just can't achieve that thing. So as an example, how it showed up for me was no matter what I did when it came to work, I would get to a certain level of success and income and just could not get past it. And every time I got to that point of success, I was sick. And I just couldn't understand it because I was so committed, so determined, so focused, disciplined, like push, 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 like we see so many people do in all different sectors. And then I'd get to that point, I think, yes, I've done it. And then it's like I would be catapulted back to where I began. And when I uncovered this through hypnotherapy and through a coach that I was working with at the time, we found out that my subconscious had a belief that was, it is not safe to be successful. And how the conflict showed up was, I really wanted something, but no matter what I did, I just didn't seem to be able to get it with ease or sustain it when I got there. And that's how it feels. So it might be a case of, you know, you really want to lose so much weight, or you really want to achieve a certain healthy, well body, and you try and you're committed and you focus and you're disciplined, and then for some reason you always end up back at square one or 5 steps behind square one. So when we think about the mind, we think about it in 2 ways. Our conscious mind, which is our critical analogical processing mind. It's kind of where you are aware of your thoughts. And then we've got the subconscious mind, which is your autopilot. That's the part of the mind that is controlling so many different processes within the body without having to think about it. It just takes that action and does it, you know, on autopilot. Now, what happens is we start programming our subconscious mind from the moment that we're born, through environment, through caregivers, through social construct. And when the subconscious accepts an instruction from the conscious, i.e., you've heard something, you've witnessed something, you've been, you know, in an energetic space with your parents or your schooling, and it hears an instruction, it accepts that instruction, and it's very black or white. So if it's heard, eat everything on your plate, it says, okay, that's the instruction that we'll accept. And that was the safest thing for me to do as a 5-year-old, because if not, I would get in trouble with my mum and dad. And so if I didn't eat everything on my plate, that's danger. Subconscious has got one role, and it's to keep us safe and alive. So if something seems dangerous, it will do the thing to keep us safe. So, you know, 5-year-old, black or white thinker, because that's what children do. And they say, and mum says, I've told you, eat everything on your plate. You're not getting down from this table till you eat it all up. Subconscious goes, okay, we're definitely accepting that as the instruction because that's the safest thing for us right now. And then automatically it applies that instruction over and over and over and over and over until you just eat everything on your plate without even thinking about it. And the repetition of that instruction from parent and caregiver is over and over and over and over a period of time. And that is how we create the subconscious programming, through repetition. So how do we change that? Now, this is the key to this type of work. It is conscious work as well as subconscious. So we have to reprogram our mind by being consciously aware of that conflict. And how do we change that? By giving the subconscious new instruction. What we know is what we learned at 5, we might have played out till we were 25, 35, 45, because we were unaware of what that belief was. Once we become aware of the belief, oh yeah, I eat everything on my plate every single night. And actually, a lot of people don't realize that they don't have to eat everything on the plate because it's become so automatic. It's just what we do. You know, we've also probably been told somewhere in our life, don't waste food. So eat everything on your plate and don't waste food. Two huge beliefs that stop us from actually connecting in and listening to our body. So we reframe that by subconscious reprogramming, which is hypnotherapy, telling the mind, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied. Listen to the body, listen to the signals that it gives you, listen to the hormone response that it's been giving you all these years that you've just not been tuned into. Conscious reprogramming, eat from a smaller plate. You know, eat when you're hungry. That's not 3 meals a day. It's literally listening to the body, because the body doesn't always need 3 meals a day. It needs to eat when it needs to eat, and it needs to stop when it needs to stop. So that's how we start to retrain the mind, by becoming conscious of of the conflict that we feel, understanding where that might be coming from, which takes a little bit of work and a little bit of, you know, self-awareness and digging, and then giving the subconscious new instruction and supporting that with habits and techniques, as you know yourself, that are going to move you towards that goal of which you want to achieve.
It's so interesting. I think we can all relate to our brain making decisions or actions that we don't understand. Like, so we'll do all week, we'll be really, really good, for example, eat the right things, you know, everything is organized, everything is planned. And then without even thinking about it, we'll just go in the kitchen, grab a shed load of stuff in the mouth, not even engaged our brain. And then you think, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Or it might be the opposite. It might be a more conscious thing. Maybe the weekend comes and we tell ourselves the narrative that suits us at that time. Oh, you're tired. You deserve it. You've been good all week. And we talk ourselves into whatever pattern that we want to do. And the amount of times I have coaching calls with clients and they say, I don't know why I do this. And it is that subconscious stuff that we're not even aware of. I was reading a book the other day and I've totally forgotten what it's called. So I must, you know, find out who it is and credit them. But they use the analogy of, you know, the subconscious working and the neurological pathways that we've established as going through long grass across a field. So say, for example, we want to go from A to B. When we were first learning these patterns as children, and we have to go from A to B, we've pushed down that long grass, we've created that pathway to go to A and B. As adults, we don't necessarily review that path and ask if it's that best way for us. Is this the most efficient way, or is it actually quite damaging? We just keep pressing on that well-trodden path. Whereas if you're finding that your actions are actually totally going against and detrimental to your goals, you know, being self-aware like this and going, actually, there might be a far better and easier way of, you know, but we have got to do some work here and press down this uncomfortable long grass. You know, that can take us a totally different way. And while you do have to put a bit of time into it to reprogram and press down other grass, once you've done that work, you never need to really think about it again. I'm a kind of advert for that. I don't eat sweets or cakes now because I've done so much work in convincing myself I don't like them. They make me feel bad. It's not even a thing for me anymore.
Yeah.
So sorry to hijack that a little bit,
No,
but I just think it's so powerful.
I love that. I love that analogy about the long grass. That's really, really clever. And that's exactly what it is. And those are the synapses. Those are the neural pathways that you've basically you've carved that, you know, over time, over experience, over that conditioning. Normally it's not our conditioning, they're not our beliefs. You know, a great one is, well, you mustn't waste food. But, you know, you didn't wake up one day as a 5-year-old and be like, oh, I must not waste this food. You were told that. You have become conditioned to experience. And that's what you're kind of touching on here. So why do we do what we do? Why do we go Monday to Thursday strict? You know, I'm on it, I'm committed, I'm disciplined, I'm focused. And then we get to Thursday and we go, oh, well, just have 1 glass of wine. And then before you know it, you're 3 glasses in, you've eaten a full bag of kettle chips, and you just think, oh, well, what the hell? I'll start again on Monday. And there's a couple of things that happen there. One of the first things is people think that the diet is the problem. And some diets possibly are the problem. But generally, the feeling about the diet is the problem, if, you know, we're alluding to that step 1. So you start the diet. Step 2, you start to lose weight, you make some progress, feel good. And this could happen over a period of time, or it could happen within days. It could happen within the day. You get to step 2, you've made some level of progress, you feel good. Then step 3 comes in, you become triggered, or something happens that kicks you back into normal behavior. So the diet is not the problem, it's the back to normal that's the problem. And when we shift the back to normal behavior to something more supportive of our long-term goals, and we support that with some mindset reprogramming, that's when we make better progress that is sustainable. But because the dieting industry just talks about that top level, the diet, we think, well, it's just the diet that's the problem. It's not me. It's not my belief system. It's not my relationship with food. It's actually the diet doesn't work, so I'll go on to another diet and on to another diet. And, you know, nobody talks about mindset. Nobody talks about experience or the relationship that you have with food. And how you feel about yourself right now, what your dress size is, what the scales say, what the measurements say, what the mirror says, and what you feel when you look at any of those data collection points, that is a symptom of your relationship with food. And that's it. It boils down to that. So if you feel, let's just talk about things that will affect your relationship with food. So number 1, what did you experience as a child? What was the general consensus of meal times? What did caregivers say? How did they make you feel? You know, what's the familiarity? What's the habits? What's the what I call the food blueprint? You know, what you experience is what you become. What is the conditioning? Was there any trauma? Because trauma can be something that, and I think it's a broad word, trauma. It's not one of my favorite words. And as a therapist, it's not something I would band around easily. But something can happen to us in our life that might be traumatic to any degree. You know, it's a very big sliding scale. And it's how we interpret that trauma and what we do to cope with it that then will determine our relationship with food if food has been used as a coping mechanism. So emotions, anger, joy, all these things are parts of us that we react with food. We're taught to do that from a very, very young age. You know, comfort food is not a thing. It's not a thing. All food is comfort. All food is good for our body. If you're eating the right food. But we've attached an emotional response to that food that gives us comfort. And it's different for most people. So
we've programmed ourselves to do that, essentially, is what you're saying. We have attached that feeling enough times, like Pavlov's dog, that now we feel happy when we do it. Wow. Okay.
Absolutely. And that's what sugar's a great one. I mean, there is from a nervous system disposition that sugar does lift us up because it gives us the glucose spike. And that gives us the insulin lift and everything that we need to get up and to get active and to get moving, but not to the degree that it's consumed at the moment by most people. So sometimes there is a physiological effect that we're going to get from certain foods, but as a rule, what happens when you think of donuts? People go, donuts, like Homer Simpson did. You know, when we think about breakfast, we think about the most important meal of the day, which was actually created by Kellogg's. Interesting marketing concept. Most important meal of the day made by a cereal company. You know, this is the thing, like we're programmed from such a tiny age. You know, I believe sometimes from the moment that you have a spoon placed to your lips. I know with my children, it was a case of fill up the tummies so they'll sleep longer. That's not asking that child to listen to their own body. It's feeding them on a clock right from the moment that they're born, as opposed to responding to their needs. Other things that change the relationship that we have with food, our own self-worth. If we don't feel we're worthy, oh, well, what's the hell? What's the point in eating that healthy food? You know, subconsciously, I'm not worthy. Might not be consciously aware of that, but subconsciously, the belief could be, I'm not worthy, so what's the point? I'll go back to the ultra-processed, highly addictive, toxic food that is dangerous to my body because I don't deserve any different. And then we've got like the overwhelm of all the information as well out there, which is mind-blowing for you and I who know what we know. And if you're that person that's not fully in the know, it's so overwhelming. Where do I start? Oh, what's the point? I can't be bothered to think about it. I'll just go back to what I know. So it's all this taking us back to normal. What is your normal? I always think that if we start by changing the normal, then we can add in the new skills, the new beliefs that will propel us forward faster. And how do we change the normal? like I said in the beginning, conscious reprogramming and subconscious reprogramming. So as an example, one of the audios that I use in my program is about changing that simple belief of just eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied. So what that allows people to do is, even if you're eating, ultra processed food, but you stop when you're full, you're probably going to consume less than you would have done before. And then we add in, more subconscious beliefs about eating healthy foods that help you become healthy, fit, and strong. So rather than looking at losing weight, because weight is just a byproduct, weight loss is just a byproduct of a new belief system, we look at, how can we get this person to choose healthier foods? And we give them some suggestions on how to do that. So then instead of looking for the ultra processed foods, they're looking for healthy foods. They're looking for foods that nourish the body and give nutritional value, opposed to taking away from the body, making the body work harder. A little bit like putting petrol in a diesel car. You wouldn't do it and expect it to go, but yet we constantly consume foods that our body can't process, does not recognize, because food marketing, food industry is all about making profit, whether we want to admit that or not. It is a fact. So when we look at and we break down all these different reasons as to why we have this relationship with food, there is not one thing. And for some people, it's the belief systems have been positive when they've grown up, but they still might not have a positive relationship. So I'm an example of that. My mum was always taught us to stop when we'd had enough. Just make sure you eat your protein and your vegetables. But alcohol was absolutely a coping mechanism. Oh, I'm stressed, I need a drink. So that's what we learned. Oh, I feel stressed. Nobody said, you feel stressed? Okay, how can we manage that stress? We went, well, we manage it when we have a drink. Oh, it's Thursday, I need a drink. I'm stressed, I need a drink. When we stop that, like what you were saying, when we start attaching that to so how it went was, the trigger was I'm stressed. The anchor is I'll have a glass of wine. When we change that to I'm stressed, oh, okay, I'll listen to some music. I'll ring my friend and have a chat. I'll go out for a walk. I'll sit and watch some Netflix. When we attach it to something else, you start to see, oh, actually, I didn't need the alcohol to feel better. And we separate it. And when you start to say, actually, the alcohol's going to make me feel worse, like you were saying about the sugar, the subconscious, after repetition, goes, oh, we don't do that then. We don't do that.
Alcohol's such a big one, isn't it? And I think the thing that I've learned, because that's always been my Achilles, rather than I've done a lot of work on food now. I know I eat incredibly well, really, compared to most. But alcohol is, I'm still having, still doing the work there, because I do enjoy a drink. And I think the thing I found is that I don't want to feel my feelings. They're uncomfortable. I don't like doing that. I think I might like to press pause on those feelings and not think about those, thank you, and take myself somewhere else. It's so interesting, isn't it?
And I don't, I think that we have to accept that to a degree, because everybody has a relationship with food and drink. It's not that that's never going to happen. It happens for me too at times. It's about awareness around it. So we say, oh, yesterday I decided to have a glass of wine. Oh, okay. Why did you do that? Well, actually, it was a pleasure decision. I enjoyed the taste of it. I like the feeling of a couple of glasses. And yeah, I wanted to. And then I get back to normal. My back to normal is low alcohol. When your relationship is less than amazing with alcohol, it might be a case of Thursday, a few glasses of wine to make me feel better. Not a pleasure decision, a coping mechanism decision. Friday, well, I had a couple of glasses last night, I might as well. Oh, it's Saturday night, we always go out on a Saturday night, and we'll have a takeaway. And that's when the slippery slope happens. We've come from step 2 where we're making progress to step 3, we've been triggered, we're back to normal, and then we get to step 4, which is the weight increase. Then we feel rubbish and we go back to step 1, which is the diet. So when we uncover what's happening in step 3 for you, like what's happening on a Thursday, what's happening 4 weeks in, what's happening no matter how much weight you've got to lose, you end up back at step 1. Oh, okay, this is where, like you said, we don't want to feel our feelings. We're playing out old subconscious beliefs that we've learned in childhood. Maybe we've experienced some type of trauma. Maybe we've got low self-esteem. When we start to unknot that and we shift those beliefs, then we can add in the new conscious habits. And when you double prong it and you do both, that's how you reframe your mindset to be more supportive of the outcome that you want to achieve. And just adding on that last note as well, it's about really, what is it that you want? Most people don't know. They just think they want to be a stone lighter, but they don't know why they want to be a stone lighter. Like, why do you want to be, if it 2 dress sizes smaller? What is the real benefit of that? And if that benefit is not bold enough, the subconscious doesn't think it's safe to achieve that benefit, then it won't allow it to happen. So as an example, if you're somebody who doesn't want attention, you don't like being the center of attention, you don't want people to notice you, losing 2 dress sizes is probably going to get you noticed. So subconscious says, this is not safe, we're not going to do this. And it's just going to keep spinning you around in that pattern, and around and around you
You're
go.
probably always identified as that person as well. If you are,
Yeah.
if you've always been, I hate the phrase big and bubbly, but you know what I mean. I don't want to use any kind of negative words, but if you've always been plus size or whatever, it's almost inconceivable that that person could be a size 12, because they've never been that. How can they possibly imagine it? So then they'll tell themselves, oh, I'm big boned or whatever it might be. And yes, we have different shapes. There are different body types, but skeletons don't vary as much as people might think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a really interesting concept that most people don't know. Again, it's like the comfort food, isn't it? You're just that way. I always say this about people, because slim thinking is a mindset. It's not about becoming a slim person. That's the byproduct of changing the mindset. People often think that slim people are just that way, that they don't have to think, they don't have to try. You can eat what you want, and no matter what, you're just going to be slim. That's not true.
Yeah,
you just look at it. It's not true. I think there's probably the endomorph body shape. That's what, probably not even 1% of people that can eat what they want. There is a genetic composition for those people too, that just seem to have a very, very high metabolism. But the mass majority of people, that's not the case. Slim people think differently about food, or their belief system is more supportive of staying that size. And when you uncover that, and that's what I've done with slim thinking, is looked at, how do these people think, and how is that different from people that are struggling with their weight and their shape and their size? How do they think, and what do they believe about themselves?
Yeah.
And it's a scale. There is not one answer, but there is like a kind of a set of hacks that really do help.
Oh, I don't think I've ever, in nearly 10 years I've done this job, I don't think I've ever had anyone ring me up and say, I need help on my mindset, or I have a bad relationship around food. Always it will be, I want to lose a stone. It will usually be the metrics will be, the measure will be a stone or a dress size or whatever it might be. As we go through the process and I dig a bit deeper, admittedly not everyone's open to digging deeper, but I do try to, you uncover the other sort of side of things about how they feel about things. And they generally come to me, desperate sounds a little bit extreme, but when they've tried everything else, they can't do it. They decide they want to pay for a coach because they just can't get there for themselves. And they have this kind of mental battle before, right, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to do it, this is going to be the time. And they psych themselves up with the belief that it's going to be awful, it's going to be boring, I've got to do it. So they're already going into it with that vibe, rather than thinking, do you know what, I can't bloody wait till I feel actually energized. Or the kind of things that clients have said to me this summer that they're enjoying is not getting chafing or rubbing. I can't wait to feel not boiling hot, uncomfortable in the heat. I can't wait to not have to buy plus size clothes. All of that exciting stuff that is going to be there shortly is not usually what features in their thoughts. It's normally about the sacrifice and how much effort they're going to have to put in, and it really doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. That's the focus. So, why do diets fail? Number one, the restriction. People don't do well under restriction. But if you tell your mind you can have whatever you want, you don't tend to want it the same. It's like one of my kids, I didn't give him sugar for 2 years. It probably was the biggest mistake I made, because I restricted it. And so now he wants it. The youngest kid, I let him have sugar from really young. He'll always return half of whatever he's given. Apart from the highly chemical stuff, he'll always consume all that, because that is so addictive, and the body doesn't know. It doesn't kick in the leptin response, does it? But like the homemade, like biscuits or chocolate cake and that type of thing, Once he's had enough, he stops. And I truly believe that's because there was no restriction. There was no scarcity mindset about, better get this in because I'm not going to get any more. And I think the second thing with diets is the fact that the focus is about weight loss. Well, when the subconscious doesn't understand negative words, so loss, it seeks out what it can find. I've lost my keys, I've lost my shoes, I've lost my wallet. What do? You've got to find it. Subconscious kind of thinks the same. Okay, we're not going to lose anything. That's not safe to lose it. And also, with the focus, again, we're focused on what we can't have and what we're removing opposed to what we're adding in. So when we decide to choose healthy over unhealthy, when we choose energy and slim, that's what our brain is focusing on. It's the classic example of, don't think of a red balloon. Do not think of a red balloon right now. You cannot help it. No matter how many times I say that, the red balloon comes into my focus. Does not stop us from thinking about it. And so when we switch the focus onto, I choose to support my body in a healthy way. I choose to drink loads of water. I choose to, eat lots of fresh, healthy food. I choose to move my body in a way that I love. I choose to spend time connecting with others in a different way. I choose to learn how to regulate my emotions, or to regulate my emotions in a certain way. Our focus changes. Does that mean we're not going to do the things that have, taken us back on that dieting loop in the past? No, it's going to happen. But actually, we now expect it to happen so we can handle it and manage it in a different way, opposed to kind of like this pie in the sky imaginary belief that we're going to do this diet and everything's just going to be solved and that's it. That's the end of it. We'll get to the stone weight loss and that's it. Our dreams are made. This is a more realistic approach that says you're going to be going on holiday. You're going to be going to a wedding. It's going to be Thursday every week. You are going to feel stressed, but don't worry. We're going to give you a set of techniques that are going to help navigate that, opposed to you feeling like that's going to derail you and then you're back around at step one.
Absolutely. I wonder if there's people listening to this that think, oh no, I'm all right. I haven't got any, negative beliefs. I'm fine. I just want to lose some weight. And, an interesting way that I find it shows itself is if you're a parent, listen to what you're saying to your children, because I didn't think I had any things, having done this job, having done the work, all of that stuff. For anyone who hasn't known me from old, I've had to do a bigger weight loss journey myself, and I naturally got a huge amount of, well, in the past, issues, baggage, etc. around food. I've had to spend a lot of blinking time and hours on this. But I thought, that was it. The work was done. I'm home and dry here. And then I'll be catching myself saying to my son, oh, you had a good day at school. Let's have a treat. A treat being crap food. That is no treat. A, he's not a Labrador. B, why is it something to be like coveted, just giving him a load of crap? Like you, I don't abstain from, banning things. So, occasionally you will have a McDonald's or some Haribos, much to my obvious delight. But I don't want to make it coveted, that the ultimate thing for him to chase. That's a bit what happened to me, actually. So I don't do that. But yeah, if you notice yourself cracking out those kind of things that you heard from your mum about starving people, you need to clear your plate, or about eat your boring vegetables, then you can have some lovely dessert, or all of these things. If you don't think you've got them, just watch how you parent, because the chances are they'll often show themselves that way. So
yeah, absolutely. They're right on cue. Did you see him just popping there?
There they are. Speaking of the devils, they show
every time, every single time. Yeah, exactly that. And actually, this is what I'm a big advocate for. The relationship. It's not about the size that you are or the struggles that you're having. We all have a relationship with food based on our programming. I was exactly the same. Once I learned all this stuff about our mind and how it affects our relationship with food, I'd hear myself saying, just eat a little bit more. Just eat a little bit more there. Once you've eaten that, well, I'm full. No, just eat a little bit more. And you think, why am I saying this? Because I feel anxious you're going to be hungry soon. And then I'm back in the kitchen, all that food is going to be wasted. And actually what I realised is I was over-facing them and then expecting them to eat it because I wanted them to be full. But actually, nobody has the monopoly on somebody else's body, so we just put in a couple of skills to help with that. And this is good to use for children and for yourself. The first one was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hungry are you? So, 1, I'm not hungry at all, and 10, I'm really hungry. And if we ever got past like a 7, we're kind of in the danger zone. You know, we're seeking probably all kinds of the wrong types of food, and we're going to overeat. So, you know, anywhere between like a 4 and a 6 is ideal, ready to eat, or possibly a little bit hungry. And then I would ask the teacher taught the kids that there's 3, and actually this is in the hypnosis audios as well that we've got within the program. There's 3 types of food that you can eat. You've got your green zone, you've got your orange zone, and you've got your red zone. So obviously green zone is all your healthy food, falls from a tree, grows from the ground, has a head, eats in as close to its natural state as possible. And foods that you can tolerate as well. So for instance, if you can't tolerate grains, which I can't, even though they are in the natural state sometimes, that's not a green food. So it's your green foods. You know, some people will say dairy is quite a raw state, but again, if you're not good with dairy, then that's not a green one for you. Your orange ones are kind of the foods that, so you eat the most of the green zones. The orange zone is the stuff that's, you know, like for me, I could eat pasta, but not a lot of it. So you eat moderately out of the orange zone. Again, it's quite self-explanatory as to what you might put in there. You know, foods that are okay, they're neither going to cause damage nor harm. But they're not going to give you loads of nutritional content or, you know, benefit either. Porridge is a good example of this. So for some people it's a green, but for me it's an orange, because as soon as I eat it, I get the glucose spike and I want to eat and eat. So that's an orange food for me that I'd eat in moderation. And then your red foods are basically all your ultra processed, all your highly processed foods, fried, high sugar, chemicals, words you can't pronounce, things that your body does not know how to process. So we have like this traffic light system, and I'll say to the kids, okay, what have you eaten today? Have you been in most of the red zone, most of the orange, or most of the green? And what that is doing is attaching a visual to them that says, oh, I ate that. Okay, so you've had a lot of red today. How did you feel? Do you feel energized? Do you feel tired? Do you feel lethargic? You know, have you felt a little bit more hungry than normal? Are you feeling grumpy? Or if like you can see that they're becoming dysregulated in the mood, and you know yourself that they've probably eaten more orange and red foods, you can say, look, this is because you haven't had enough protein, or you haven't had enough good fats. Like let's pick a snack now. We have it on our fridge, all the green foods, all the orange and all the red. Pick a snack out of the green, let's sit down and eat that. And that's going to start to regulate your blood sugars again. And the 5 and 9, these kids, you know, this is not like, it's simple stuff that we can teach everybody, and that helps them. And even if, don't get me wrong, they still want ice cream, they still want Haribos, they still want junk, because it's there and it's tasty and it's meant to be tasty. It's meant to keep us going back for more. But it's just building in their awareness. And if we keep giving them that repetition, that becomes the belief, just like we've all experienced the opposite.
I so wish someone had done that with me when I was younger. I mean, you know, I love my parents to bits, no disrespect there, but there wasn't so much awareness in the 80s and things. All I knew was, I like that, I don't like that. There was literally no further thought process than that. And I carried that through teens, through 20s, and it's probably early 30s until I actually thought, good Lord, you know, your health is crap. You've got about 5 stone to lose. You've got a dreadful relationship with food. You're depressed all the time. And once I started digging, all these different autoimmune problems, blood sugar problems, it all was one issue. It was the problem with food. So, you know, people watching this, they might think, you know, harping on, bleating on about what you should and shouldn't be doing. We know that. Actually, you teach best what you've most had to learn. And, you know, we've done the work. This isn't coming from a place of preaching. It's coming from a place of actually feeling amazing and feeling good. And, you know, I do this job because I love it. And, you know, seeing people change how they live in their life is really powerful stuff.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And I mean, you know, 70s and 80s has been a massive thing for food in terms of what happened and what changed in those times was catastrophic, really. We're all living the kind of experience of the choices that were made for us back then. You know, I was raised on Heinz baby food because, like my mum said, that's just what people did then. They just fed you out of a jar. They didn't do home cooking. And also we had the rise of, you know, the working woman. She didn't have the time. So it was the ready meals, it was the convenience, it was the ease, it was the having to not think as hard. And they weren't taught to cook in the ways that maybe the women of the 50s, 60s were, and maybe the early 70s. So there's lots of things that change that. However, I don't think you have to be a good cook. I'm sure you would agree with this. You just have to know what to eat and find foods that work for you.
I probably only cook from scratch once or twice a week because I ain't got no time to be
Yeah.
doing that. As long as
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, but I think parents, though, as parents, we all do our best. Even in retrospect, if our parents didn't,
Absolutely.
they did their best with what they knew and all the
Yeah.
rest of it. And it's just nice to break that cycle, isn't it? So, what should someone do if they're watching this and they think, okay, I want to start. I know I've got issues with emotional eating. I want to get some sustainable weight reduction. Where do I even start with this? Because it's a massive topic, and we're both coming at it from probably 10 years of self-development. But if you're new to this concept, where do you even start?
Yeah, 100%. Great question. So the first thing that you need to understand is that we all go into a state of hypnosis hundreds of times every day. So hypnosis is just a state of brainwave activity. Okay, when we take our brainwaves slow, it means that we kind of almost actively go to sleep, sometimes with our eyes open. And actually, our subconscious mind is in control 95% of the time, meaning 5% of the time our conscious mind is in control, where we're kind of awake and alert and understand our thoughts, but 95% of the time we're on autopilot. And one of the times that you'll notice this the most is if you can drive a car and you've got somewhere without even realizing how you've got there. That's like highway hypnosis. You've just gone into that flat out autopilot. And it's important to explain that because hypnosis is not something that is created. It is already within us. It's just facilitated by an environment or a practitioner or an audio, something like that. And you can facilitate your own hypnosis. And the best time to do this is as you go to sleep each night, because you naturally go into something called the hypnagogic state, which is again where your brainwaves start to slow and you are kind of drifting into sleep, but you're aware of your environment around you, maybe noises and things that are happening. At that point, you can start to give your subconscious new instruction, and it's faster when you're in this state. That's why hypnosis works, because you're giving the subconscious, we call it cheating the guard. So the conscious mind is the guard a little bit, and that one decides whether or not it's giving it the instruction. But remember, if that's asleep and autopilot's in control, it can't give new instruction. So you have to be consciously aware of creating this new instruction. So think about that. I would always suggest you start with eat when you're hungry and stop when you're satisfied, because even though what you eat does matter, if you're not ready to change what you're eating, that one belief will stop you eating, more than you need to. So as you're falling asleep, just say, I eat when I'm hungry, I stop when I'm satisfied. I eat when I'm hungry, I stop when I'm satisfied. And repeat and repeat and repeat. And as you wake up in the morning, you can say it again, and then you can add maybe another statement in there as well. I choose healthy. I, support my body to become healthy, fit and strong. And then you can, by day 4, maybe add another statement in. So you might have 3 statements that you just have on repeat. And then that's where I would suggest that you start. Then the second thing that I would suggest that you do is to remove meal times. Okay, so to listen to the body, to eat when you're hungry and to stop when you're satisfied. So you're consciously living out that new belief each and every day. So if you're not hungry at breakfast, don't eat. But carry food with you so that you are prepared, you're organised. But when you are ready to eat, you can fuel the body with something that's, nutritious, stabilises the blood sugar. I would recommend that to be high protein, with some fat, with some, fruit, vegetables, whatever. You'll have I know you've got a big recipe list of all things that people can take with them. But making sure you've got something that you can eat at that time. And then wait till you're hungry again and eat again. Don't let yourself get starving. Don't let your blood sugars drop too low, because it's stress on the body, and we tend to make bad choices at that point. So we've got the new subconscious program. Then we eat when we're hungry. So we remove meal times. So then we eat something nutritious. We drink lots of water, because often we are thirsty and not hungry. So make sure that we're hydrated. And then another good hack is to use smaller crockery as well. So these are kind of like your conscious habits that are supporting that new subconscious belief system that we're creating. Smaller crockery means that you're less likely to eat with your eyes and instead listen to the body. And one of the simplest, but not the easiest things to do as well, is to chew your food slowly. Because again, that gives you the time to listen to that signal that the body's giving you, where it says, I've had enough. And what happens is, as you tune that over time as well, is that like you can look at a plate and go, I've definitely had enough. Like, I know 2
Mhm.
mouthfuls before the end of my meal, I'm done. And whereas before, and I would be guilty of this, I would have tried to eat it all because, don't waste any food.
Press on, press on.
Yeah, exactly. You can do it. You can do it. I'm now like, done, move the plate away, finished. And then just sit and let your body take the fuel, take the energy from the food, and just give yourself a moment. And I think as well, as you start to make these changes, you have to experience a tension point as well. And most people aren't prepared to experience a tension point of where you ask yourself, is this a habit? Is this an emotion? Or is this an active choice? Emotions are sneaky. So are habits, because we're used to doing what's familiar. And when you become aware, is it an emotion? Is it a habit? We have this tension point where we go, am I going to go back to normal, old normal, or I'm going to lean into new normal? And that can be sometimes a little bit uncomfortable. And I think it's about being honest about that, because, nobody says this is the easiest of journeys. It's just easier when you onboard your mindset.
Absolutely. It's a huge subject. So as you can probably tell, once I get started, there's no shutting me up. I don't know how long we've spoken about, but I could do the same again without any gaps. If someone is watching this and they're quite new to it, it can feel quite overwhelming. It can be a little bit like, oh God, here we go. There's something else I need to do, something else I need to find time for. I need to unpick all my mindset now. So if you are new to this, I think the first place to start, you and I both do quite a lot of free content on Instagram, on the socials, all the rest of it. Check out podcasts. Start to move in those circles, start to explore your brain, listen to Audible, watch YouTube videos, by all means, whatever you can. If you're ready to take the leap, of course you can. If you're really at the pain point of being really fed up, Sam does hypnosis, she does group coaching, she does you can listen to audios, all things like that. Obviously, given that this is going out primarily on my platform, you guys know I'm a one-to-one coach, so there are top level ways of dealing with it, but it's not to say that you have to go from nothing to that, but just allow yourself to be open to change, because if you're stuck and you are finding yourself in a loop of constantly, rolling out the same behaviors year in, year out, year in, year out, you might even still be darting from the holiday you had in 2015. Who knows, just look if that behavior is serving you, because I promise you that the pain of staying the same, or the discomfort, is far worse than actually taking action and just fixing the problem. It's like, if you're another analogy that I like that I heard somewhere is, if you've got a leak in the ceiling, be a bad relationship with food, are we going to just go on a diet, which is putting a bucket down there, or are we going to fix the roof? That's what we're doing here. So it's a big subject. I mean, if you enjoyed today, you can check out more of your work. We'll put a tag on the link, won't we? But you're on Instagram at slimthinking_, I believe, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We'll put a tag on there. But so I must remember to say that, if what you're saying is resonating with people, they can track you down and find out a little bit more about what you do. But anything else that you'd like to kind of to touch on or finish on? Because I say I can go on for ages, but I'm aware people have got a life to lead.
Yeah. So yeah, you can check us out on Instagram, and also there's slim-thinking.com, and on there there's blogs, there is a free workshop to watch, there's an emotional eating quiz, there's a few different things. One of the main kind of areas I would suggest that you start is with an audio program like we do, which is 6 weeks of audio content. That is starting that reprogramming the brain, and then to use somebody like yourself to get the skills that go along with that new belief system. What I often get people say to me is, yeah, but I've been on this journey for years, I put my weight on when I had my babies and they're 20 now and I'm still in the same position, can things change for me? And I can 100% assure you that no matter what the background is, or the patterns that you've experienced, if you want things to change, they absolutely can. When we onboard the mindset, the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, we can change anything. It's like Henry Ford said, if you believe you can, you're right. And if you believe you can't, you're right. And truly, from the work that I do each and every day in all different sectors with one-to-one clients and in group coaching and with the audio program, I see time and time and time again how much that change can be made, really not in a very effort-based way. You know, by listening to an audio every night as you fall asleep, you're getting that new belief system. That new belief system then means you make a different choice at breakfast. And you basically just repeat that process every day until you're ready to add in the other skills. So if you sat there thinking now, yeah, but I've been through all this, I've done every diet going, I've done this, I've done that. Mass majority of my clients have been on a 40-year journey of yo-yo dieting, and we've still made the changes because the best thing about the subconscious, it always wants to say yes, because it's about your safety. So you say, I want to upgrade, I want to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full, and it says, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Just keep repeating whatever it is you decide you want. Keep that focus as your destination. I'm getting there no matter what. And keep finding the things that are going to help you get there. And if you do that and you don't stop, you stay as consistent as you can. And consistent doesn't mean constant. So many people think consistency means all of the time. It just means consistently moving towards that thing that you're looking for. You absolutely can get there. You've seen it. You've done it yourself. I've seen it many, many times. I've done it myself. If we can do it, anybody can do it. That's how I see it, because you know, these skills are just one set of skills that we've repeated over and over and over. We've stuck with you know, that goal that we want to achieve. So that is my parting comment for you. You know, if you listen to this, just trust us when we say we know that those changes can be made.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on, Sam. I mean, Sam's helped me a huge amount, as I say. So not with regards to nutrition or any of that stuff, but I had some hypnosis with her probably last year now. Obviously I was open to it because I understand about how the mind works and all the rest of it. And yeah, it's mind-blowing stuff. So much so that I actually want to do it myself. And it is on my list of never-ending things. Honestly, you've got the tidy end of my office here. If I was to spin this around, you'll see post-it notes and carnage about what I want to say, but there's only so many hours. But hypnosis is so powerful as well. But thank you so much for coming on. My aim is to once a month try and have an expert in their field on here for no purpose other than to help you guys, really. I've got so many people that I work with, people like Sam, like chiropractors, like hormone health people, oh God, all, you know, people that deal with vitamin deficiencies, all a part of the same circle of what we're trying to do. So yeah, thank you so much, Sam. I will let you guys crack on with your evening, or indeed whatever you're watching, it might be in the morning, and we'll catch you soon. Thank you.